we are going to ground and take a minute to like get in our body so that you are open to hearing all the things that you're going to hear today. Okay? It doesn't take very long. You can do this with your eyes open, eyes closed. It's really up to you. If you are good at accessing your emotions, eyes open is fine. If you struggle with accessing your emotions, I would recommend eyes closed because that just makes it easier. Everybody just take a big deep breath and just feel yourself sitting in your chair. And again, eyes open, eyes closed, up to you. I want you to focus your attention in the area of your heart and imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart space. You want to breathe a little slower and a little deeper than usual, but find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. As you continue to breathe, I want you to make a sincere attempt to connect to a regenerative emotion like love, gratitude, or appreciation. And if that feels too hard today to access, then just try peace, calm, ease, or neutral. When I say regenerate, I want you to think about it. I don't want you to recall a story. I want you to generate the actual feeling in your body. And focus on breathing that in and out of your heart space. As you're still breathing, I want you to think about an intention. Whether it's you're just open to listen, whether it's that you want to receive a lesson, set an intention for you about what this time is going to be for you and how you're going to feel when you walk out the door. Take a few more deep breaths, and when you feel ready, come back to conversation. Good. Everybody back? So one of the really cool things about doing this exercise, it's probably creepy for you guys, but it's cool for me, is what we just did was create coherence in your body. And that is just a fancy way to say that your brain and your heart got on the same page. And what's cool about that is you guys can't see it because most of your eyes were closed, but I can see. I know exactly when to change because you smile. You smile automatically when you get in a state of coherence and you don't even realize it. Everybody feel grounded and ready to just like be in this space? Awesome. Okay, so I will introduce myself. I am Rachael Rizzi. I am a holistic wellness practitioner, and I specialize in helping people learn how to metabolize their emotions. And that's probably not a term you've heard before because we have not been taught how to metabolize emotions. We've been taught not to feel emotions, and that emotions are scary, and that there's no reason to feel them. And what we know now is that what we bury alive continues to thrive. And when we do not feel our emotions, they get trapped in our body and they create dis-ease. The whole goal of this space tonight for me is to help you learn how to metabolize emotions, especially if you're somebody who has chronic illness or you're in a very chronic, stressful situation.
Hi, everyone. Caitlin Shea. By day, I am the Vice President of Development for the Discovery Children's Museum. That's a fancy, fancy term for raising a lot of money, and boy, is it challenging right now. And I'm also a podcast host, and I just jumped into this in 2025. Many of you know this. This has been something I've been wanting to do for years and years and years and years. And I finally just kind of dove in head first, and it's absolutely horrifying and very exciting. And as I've been kind of going through, some of my guests are actually here in the room today, which is so awesome. But going through some of the things that are important to me that I'm kind of dealing with in my life and feeling, this has been such an exciting project to put together with Rachael. We've been friends for over a decade. I really feel like the group of amazing men and women that are with us today will take a lot away from what she has to say. I know for myself personally, A lot of you that have known me for a long time, maybe a short time, I lost my mom in 2021. Tomorrow is the 4-year anniversary of her being gone. So the timing of this couldn't be more perfect, but I know I'm not the only one dealing with grief and trauma and trying to kind of like move through our day, right? Really uncomfortably. I feel like we all as humans have adapted to living in like really high levels of discomfort. And one of the things I love about Rachael and the work that she's doing, in addition to her daytime job, is helping people like figure out how to do that. And so I hope today, like through our conversation, we'll share the real talk. You all know you're going to get that from me. She's the same way. And I'm just really grateful all of you are here. I think this is going to be a beautiful time together for the next hour.
One of the things that Caitlin and I have really bonded over is the fact that we both have chronic illness and the way that that chronic illness shows up. So Caitlin has colitis, and so that definitely has a big impact on her day-to-day life. I have Lyme disease, and so that also has a big impact on my day-to-day life. When we were talking about one of the many ways that we could collaborate and the different ways that we could take this conversation, that was kind of the core ground. And what happens when you have a chronic illness, or even if you're just in a place where you are chronically stressed because your home situation isn't great, your work situation isn't great, you have aging parents, whatever, everybody's got something, right? That is stressing them out on a daily. One of the things that happens is your nervous system is on all the time. And when your nervous system is on all the time, you never get to a place of rest and digest. And that is what is critical to make your body heal. What I found through my journey and in talking to Caitlin, I know this is true for her as well, I couldn't get to the place where I really healed everything until I excavated and healed all of the emotions. So everything that I've learned and everything that I'm sharing is really because I needed a way out for me. So specifically, kind of the origin background story for me is I wasn't raised in a specific religion, and my parents were always like, you know what, just go and explore, and when the time is right, you'll decide what's right for you. And I always just naturally gravitated towards Eastern type philosophies, where the foundation and the thought principle is that you have everything inside you need to heal. And so that led me to follow a lot of people like Deepak Chopra, Gabby Bernstein, Tony Robbins, a lot of people who talk about vibration and frequency, but they never really explain how to modulate it in yourself. Then the other piece of that is getting diagnosed with Lyme disease. I was really sick for quite a while, and I kept going to the doctors and the allopathic medicine that we have now, and it was, oh, you're too fat, you're not working out enough, you're a new mom, you're too stressed. I did everything that they told me to do, and then I just kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And luckily for me, my regular MD doctor switched her practice to a functional medicine practice. And the difference there is that functional medicine doctors dig for the root cause of something, and they treat that instead of the symptom. And so that was how I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. A lot of people, when I say that, their immediate reaction is like, oh, I'm so sorry. But it was one of the best days of my life, because it was validating and vindicating, because I was like, I have been telling you I feel like garbage for years, and at least now I have a cause and a path forward. So one of the symptoms that for me specifically came with Lyme disease was really intense anxiety, and specifically around my health. So if you think about through the lens of, I had been screaming, my body is sick, and all these people kept telling me, no, it's not, you're fine. It just naturally bred this cycle in me of anxiety, because no matter what, I wasn't getting the help that I needed. So my functional medicine doctor literally wrote me a prescription for something called heart math, which is what you all just did. Essentially, it's just a set of tools and breathing techniques to help you turn off your autonomic nervous system and to get to the place where you are not constantly in fight or flight, so that you can rest and digest and heal. And that was like the opening the keys to the kingdom for me, because I was like, oh, this is how you modulate. This is how you change your frequency. It all comes down to the emotions and your ability to metabolize them. So I am a nerd and a perpetual student at heart. So if I become obsessed with something or interests me, I just deep dive. But this was also kind of coinciding with the pandemic, and I was like, ooh, so many people are suffering. So even if I get certified and all I do is help my friends and my family and my coworkers and the people around me, that'll be enough, right? Because that ripple effect will help everyone else. So that's kind of the origin story of how I started doing that. But then that led into, well, it's really hard to metabolize emotions if you don't feel anything. Is there anybody in the room that is like, when I was like, hey, connect to a regenerative emotion, was like, ooh, I don't feel anything? Anybody? Yeah. So the first time I ever followed that instruction, I was like, oh, I'm not feeling anything good, but I'm also not feeling anything bad. I'm just not feeling anything. And that kind of became my go-to. I'm really good under pressure. Like if we're stuck on an island and we got to MacGyver a boat out of palm fronds to get off the island, like, I'm your girl. But the second our feet are on land, I am gonna cry and fall apart and be crazy. And I always thought, oh, that's a flaw in me, that I just can't seem to be good in a crisis and then also chill afterwards. Like, I must be broken. But it's actually just your physiology, right? Like, it's just the way that your body processes emotions and the way that your body processes stress. I want to level set a little bit and talk about energy and frequency and vibration, because you hear those terms a lot and a lot of people use them interchangeably. Energy is just the capacity to do work, right? And then vibration is the movement around a certain point. And everything in the universe is made of energy, and it all vibrates. And it's how fast or how slow that vibration happens is your frequency. So if you think about humans, how fast or how slow you are vibrating is your home frequency. And when your home frequency is at a baseline of stress, then you're not in a good place and you're not able to function as well. You have disease, right? Just like you have an immune system in your body when you get a virus, you also get an immune system for your emotions, right? So some people, does anybody know, like off the top of your head, if you're like a fighter or if you fight, fly, freeze, what did you say you are? You're flight? Okay. Anybody a fighter? Yeah. Okay. And anybody freeze? Yeah. And then there's another one that isn't talked about a lot that's called fawn, which is essentially like a temporary freeze where you're like, okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm dead just long enough for you to go away, and then I'm going to sprint, right? So everybody can kind of connect to, like, you've had a situation where your emotional immune system was triggered. And the unfortunate part is you don't get to choose, right? Like, you don't get to choose how your physiology responds. It just does what it does. Our bodies were not designed for modern society where we have stressors coming at us all the time. And on the same token, it's actually pretty easy. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's actually pretty easy for you to modulate it. Anybody have any idea how long an emotion lasts? Take a guess. How long? 3 seconds? Anybody else? Guess? As long as you let it. Okay. Sorry, that's what you were going to say? Okay, any other guesses? So emotions are actually physiology. That's not what we're taught. We're taught that emotions are this like nebulous thing, but actually what happens when you have an emotion, your emotional immune system gets triggered by an input, and then a bunch of chemical reactions happen in your brain. And if you think about it, you don't feel an emotion in your brain, it's a somatic experience, right? Like if there's a bicycle coming and you're going to cross the street and you didn't see it coming, that's a visceral reaction that you have in your body in the moment, right? So the physiology of emotions, that cascade of hormones, only lasts 90 seconds. That's it. So if you actually just learn how to ride the wave of your emotions for 90 seconds, you can completely change the way that your physiology responds. Once that 90 seconds is over, what do we have a tendency to do? Where does that emotion go? Yep. So if you are feeling an emotion and it lasts more than 90 seconds, you're actually not feeling, you're intellectualizing. You're ruminating, You're repressing, right? You're overthinking. So the antidote to that is to allow your feelings to flow. That's the easy piece. For the most part, you don't die from feeling your feelings. And I say that kind of flippantly, but also not, because that is what we've been taught. Feeling our feelings isn't safe, right? Anybody feel like they're addicted to drama here? Yeah. So
That hurt, just for the record. I'm 38. I shouldn't be doing it.
What happens when we pass that 90-second mark? We start to repress, we start to ruminate, and then all of that energy gets stuck in our body, right? Because emotions are energy. They have to move. If they don't move, they get stuck. When they get stuck, that is when we create disease. We create physical problems in our emotional, mental, right? Like our whole well-being gets trapped because these emotions are not moving through us. The thing about the body is that it is hardwired and designed to repeat patterns. And the body doesn't know the difference between a good pattern and a bad pattern. It just knows that it's supposed to keep repeating it. Your physiology gets wired for that drama. And then when you don't have it, you go and seek it, or you go and create it. And a lot of times you're not even conscious or aware that you're doing it, right? Kate, I want to talk about the ways that you feel like specifically in your healing journey from mom, from colitis, through all of that, the places where you feel like energetically you were stuck, where your vibration was stuck, where you struggled.
Let me count the ways. I think for me, so I was diagnosed with colitis when I was 15. That's a super awkward age to have a disease that you may or may not go to the bathroom frequently. I just want to lay that out for everyone. I will never forget, like, I was having a really hard time. Like, I had no tools to regulate myself. And my parents were desperately trying to help me, right? Because, like, you have to go to school. You can't stay at home and, like, not graduate from 10th grade. That's, like, not an option. And it's funny in this moment that this memory came to me, but I'll never forget, I was at school one day and I wanted to go home. And this was a very frequent occurrence when I first got diagnosed. I was really, really sick and not feeling good and all the things. And my dad drove down to the school in our little Volvo station wagon, and I went to Bishop Foreman High School, which is a very snotty, rich people's school. And I was not snotty and rich. And he came to the nurse's office and he's like, "Sis, let's go take a walk on the back field. Like, I want to talk to you." And I'll never forget, and this was a defining moment in the way that I've approached my disease, and why for the normal public that meets me, they would never know I'm sick, right? Because I don't physically appear sick. We associate sickness with you're limping, you've got a black eye, you've got this, you've got that, like something physically is presenting. And my dad was walking out there with me and he's like, "I know this is really tough on you and I know you're not feeling good." And again, has no experience with heart math, which is hilarious because he's he's actually the most intuitive in my family. Don't tell him I said that. But he said, "You're going to make a decision right now whether your disease defines you or it's just a part of who you are." And so profound at 15 to be like, "Oh, you've decided now that you're like the guru of my life. Okay, you are." And in that moment, I think, for me, energetically, physically, I made the decision that I'm gonna trample this disease before this disease tramples me, right? It's autoimmune. I know some of you in this room, I don't know some of you. I know some of us deal with autoimmune diseases, right? It's all about inflammation in the body and holding. When I'm at my healthiest with the colitis, I'm physically active for me personally, but very centered. And I have used a lot of the tools that Rachael with the heart math and the breathing, and they do work. And I'm mad as a snake about that. I want to let all of you know that right now. I'm so mad because, to her point, if you dug into my soul and asked me the real question, do you want drama? The answer is no. Like, I actually want like the deepest level of peace I can find. But because I've had all these life experiences that are like feeding that monster inside me, I'm like, okay, if I'm oscillating here, then I'm doing a great job in my job, dating guys, working out, whatever it is. And the reality is, when I've been the most peaceful, my disease has been in full remission. I will tell you right now, during COVID and my mom dying, so 2020 and 2021, my disease was in total remission. I want you to make that make sense for me. And I know why, because there were a lot of tools I was using and actively choosing to get myself to a place that I could be calm, not really for myself, in hindsight, for my mom, right? And so I think that's the other piece of it, right? I'm now 4 years later, my mom isn't here. I miss her more than life itself. Any of you that met her, you know her, she's amazing. But now, and the timing of this couldn't be better, I'm trying to figure out how I choose this for myself, because choosing ourselves is a choice. And I think that when you're people, and I know a lot of people in this room are people in service to others, you cannot be a tool for good, no matter how good you are. Some of you in this room, you're the best. You cannot be a tool for good if you're absolutely depleted and you're banging through the day, right? And we've all done it. I know at some point in our lives, we've all just been like, okay, I just have to put my head down and I'm just gonna go. And then we do it for like 30 days, and then we do it for like 6 months, and then we're doing it for like 5 years. And you just get to a point where it's like, this sucks. I'm fighting myself. I'm not even fighting the world, and God knows there's a lot out there that we could fight with right now. But I think for me, it's just when I use the things I know work for me, I am healthy. I am the strongest I am. I'm a better friend. I'm certainly a better GF to a cute boy. And I'm better to the world, And I think, unfortunately, it takes serious, traumatic, deep burnout. I have a lot of my girlfriends in this room that I've worked with or work with right now. And, burnout is real. In this environment, in this economic, social, political, religious, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, burnout is real for us. So if you're not doing something you love, right now is the immediate time to stop and go, whoo, I don't want to do this anymore. And how do I do something else? And if you're in something you love, it's time to figure out how you get yourself back to a place of protecting yourself. Because we forget, and we were taught in this genre, I think most of us are in this age bracket, taking care of yourself is selfish. And it's actually the biggest gift you give to yourself, to the world, and to the people you love.
I want to dovetail on something you said about burnout. A lot of people think that burnout is up here. It's not. It's the same problem. Burnout is your physiology is in fight mode. It's in freeze mode. Your physiology is stuck in your nervous system, and you have to let that flow. The single best way to allow, because you're right, we put, I'm going to put that in a box and I'm going to feel it later. I'm going to process that later. Later never comes. And then before you know it, you have boxes and 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 boxes, right? The single best way is somatic. It's getting in your body. So it's working out. It's breath work. It's ecstatic dance is cool. Has anybody done that? The way to process your emotions and heal is through your body. Your body is actually your subconscious mind. Everything that ever happens to you is stored in your body, not even necessarily in your brain. People think that the brain sends the most and the most powerful signals out of your body, but it's actually your heart. And your heart actually shares a ton of physiology with your brain because most of the impulses go this way. That's counterintuitive to what we're told, but that actually is the truth. So if you come from a place of connecting with your heart and being heart-led and living in your body, it helps you to process whatever you have stuck. So we're going to do a fun exercise right now. We're going to do a body scan. So we're going to start at your toes, and I'm going to guide you all the way up to your head. And all I want you to do is just notice. Is there a place where it feels like there's space? Is there a place where it feels like it hurts? Is there a place where it feels stuck? Okay? So again, close your eyes, open your eyes. This is a heart math technique, which are designed, by the way, to be done on the go anywhere, no matter where you're at. I've been doing it the whole time. You wouldn't know that if I didn't tell you. So focus the attention in the area of your heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart space. Breathe a little slower and a little deeper than usual, but find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. Energy flows where attention goes, so that is why we focus on the heart. That is the access to your intuition. That is the access to your emotions. Make a sincere attempt to connect to a regenerative emotion like love, gratitude, or acceptance. Now shift that emotion and that attention down to your toes. Take a big deep breath in and start scanning your body from your toes to your ankles, to your shins, to your knees, up through your thighs, into your pelvis and your hips, up through your stomach, into your ribs, to your shoulders. Pause and scan both arms, pausing at the elbows, at the wrists, the fingers. Come back to your neck. Move higher to the jaw and the ears, mouth, nose, eyes, forehead. From that body scan, just note where in your body do you feel energy is stuck. And then I want you to breathe with intention into that space. So if you have an ankle that feels really tight, if you have an elbow that feels really tight, or maybe your heart space feels a little hurt, breathe into that space. And if you can, focus on that regenerative emotion or that peace, calm, ease, neutral. Take a few deep breaths, and when you're ready, come back to conversation. Anybody feel stuck in their physiology? Where do you feel stuck? Your whole body? Okay. Anybody else? In your stomach? Okay. Your thighs? Okay, so what's interesting is that there are specific emotions that correlate with specific parts of the body. So for example, if you have pain in your liver or in this quadrant, you're carrying resentment and anger. There is actually a really great book called When the Body Says No by Dr. Gabor Mate. And he's a French-Canadian doctor. And what he discovered is that people who have the same disease share an emotional repression signature. So of course, there are exceptions to every rule, but on the whole, if you have liver cancer, you routinely repress anger and resentment. If you have issues with thyroid, you routinely don't speak your mind. Even for every different kind of cancer, right? Like it just depends where in your body you find it.
Mine's always in my neck.
So a lot of people know and understand up here why something is hurting, but we get scared to release it. We get scared to let it go because that means we have to feel it. And feelings are not safe for our physiology. In our head. Our head is wired to think that feelings aren't safe. They are actually. Let me be clear about that, right? The best way to heal, manage chronic illness is to deal with whatever is stuck there. Anybody heard of frequency breath work or holotropic breath work? Yeah? So holotropic breath work is also called a two-part breath. You breathe in through the belly up to the chest and then a hard exhale out. And that process increases the oxygen in your brain, which releases DMT. DMT is the same chemical that if you do plant medicine like cannabis, mushrooms, ayahuasca, but unlike plant medicine, if it's too intense, all you do is increase your breath out and that creates an equilibrium. But what happens when people do breath work like that, do any somatic practices like that, yoga even, what's happening is you are allowing the body to release what is stuck inside of you. And if you do that, then it makes it easier for you to feel that 90-second emotion. It makes it easier for you to have your human experience in the moment instead of shoving it in a box and saying, I'm going to do it later, right? How do you think that would have changed things for you if you felt your feelings?
I think most of you know me or like followed this little journey with my mom being sick on social. So most of you know I do performing. I live performance theater. I am very bold. I am clearly not shy. But every time I would go get on to do like lives on Facebook, and that's the medium I chose because a lot of my mom's friends were on there, and it was just easier to get it out in one spoot and say, please stop texting us and calling us. Like, I'm begging you so hard to like just give us our space. For me, that was not cathartic. It was not fun. It was like I would rather go sing off key in front of a million people than like share the reality of what my mother's health condition was. And so when my mom passed, it was a year and a half into her like dealing with cancer, and I was in probably the worst physical and emotional state I had ever been in my life. And what's actually funny is during COVID and up until probably like the 3 or 4 months before my mom passed, I had my outlets. I was doing my things, right? We all have our things we do to keep ourselves like in our little zone that we can function. And I was actually, I would say about 4 months until she passed, I was I was in a good place. Like I could get through the day, right? I was doing just enough of the things that like got me through the day to do it. But then she died, and then like, if you've ever experienced death of someone you really love, it feels like you've done all this stuff and you've been going through this, and then it just stops. Like the world just stops. And I don't think that's a feeling you ever understand until you live it, sadly. But I also think that for me, it was like I was in the trenches. Like I was the heaviest I ever have been. I was the sickest I've ever been with my disease. Like my mom died on a Saturday. I was back at work on Monday. Like they're like, why are you here? Right? And so I think for me, it's just when you're in these deep, dark places, the last thing you need to do is just like shut down. And it's the easiest thing for all of us to do, right? Like my go-to is like, beep, we're just gonna, and we'll convene in 6 months. Call me in 6 months. But I think the beautiful thing about my mom's situation and like the Facebook Lives and some of these other things, it was kind of a very odd release because I would just get emotional out of left field, right? Hello, your person is dying from cancer. Of course you're emotional. But in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm crying. And I'm like, da-da-da. But so in a way, I think your emotions and your soul and your body will force you into a corner sometimes and be like, this is the only way out. But I think, especially grief, like you've lost a person, a job, a thing, your home, whatever it is. I think that because we're disconnected from our emotions, this is why we are in the world we live in today. We've inherited this world that we've also created. And so I think by doing some of these practices, whatever works for you, right? Like the scary breath work, I have not done that yet. I'm going to own that to this group because that's scary. I'm like, there's some little monsters that are going to come out of a closet that no one wants to see, including me.
The thing about breath work is it is the wisdom of your body releasing, but you don't always relive it here. I want to be very clear about that. I told you guys at the beginning, I'm the kind of person, I just hold on to stuff. And I didn't realize until I started doing this work, I don't really cry in front of other people. Even when I'm angry, I try really hard to shut it down. So I am always in a constant battle between my inner Buddha and my inner gangster. And I would love for my inner Buddha to win all the time. But my inner gangster sometimes is not down with that.
She's there to play.
But I also, I have kids. I have, the same things that everybody else does. And it's not always appropriate for the gangster to come out, right? So my way and how I learned was just, I'm going to numb out and not feel anything. And so when I started doing breath work, that is one of the only times that I cry. And it's not because I am even consciously like, oh no, I'm not going to cry. I'm so strong. I'm not going to cry. My body is just like, no, we don't do that unless we're doing breath work. I cry really hard and release a lot, but it is all somatic. There is nothing happening up here that is like reliving trauma. Your body knows what to release and when to release and how it is good and helpful for you. Sometimes breath work is actually fun though, right? Because it releases DMT. Sometimes you just get high and you feel like you're flying for however long you're doing it, right? Like you actually can have both experiences. And I'll tell you this, I've been doing breath work. I've been certified for 3 years, I think now. And I did it for probably a year before that. And I have never had 2 breathwork sessions be the same. But what is great about them is, and this is why they would be good for you and for people who hold on and don't want to release things, because you don't have to relive it. You don't have to be in here reliving it for it to release. It can be what you want it to be. It's your breathwork. It's your practice. You have sovereignty over how, in general, the faster and deeper you breathe, the higher you get. But you get to control that, right? So if you have anxiety and you're like, ooh, I don't know, it's a little too much for me, or you are going into a place where your brain's like, oh, cool, we're safe now. Let's unpack all the boxes at once. And you're like, wait, whoa, I don't want to. You get to control that, right? Has anybody done that kind of breath work? You have?
But also to just piggyback on that, to put a nice bow on this. My observation in working with children in my current job, and just thinking back to childhood, were we all the generation to sit down and be quiet and don't emote? And then when you're getting upset, the first thing we do, right, as adults is we're like, no, don't do that, right? Now, there is time and place in life, right? We don't want a child screaming at the top of their lungs in certain moments. But I think one of the things that my work with Rachael has taught me in different capacities is we teach from the youngest age to be quiet. What do we do with babies? What's the first thing we do when they start crying? We want them to be quiet. I'm going to speak for myself. Any baby I've loved of any people in this room, I'm like, what in the... My point with this is children I think when we come to earth, when we're children, when we're young, we have the sensitivity and the emotional intelligence that adults do not have. And so I think my message is, and the way I try so hard to live my life and some of the practices I'm incorporating to survive and hopefully on the other side thrive, is that if I'm feeling my feelings, I'm going to feel them. I'm not going to shut down and be quiet and go in the corner and quietly to myself, that hilarious video of that girl going, but nothing's coming out. I love her, by the way, my spirit animal. But I think my hope for all of you that I love and respect so much is that we stop suppressing all of our feelings, because it's making us sick. And I think, like, when I look at my mom, her cancer, 50-year trauma nurse, retired a year later, was diagnosed with cancer. Okay, that is unacceptable. And so for me, the reflection is, for people I love and care about, we have to take care of ourselves. No one else is going to do the job. And so whatever that looks like for you, we all have our things, right, that make us feel better, that make us feel, whether it's sleep, massage, screaming at the top of your lungs in the desert. I don't know who does that. Whatever it is. I think you have to find your way.
The point of this really is to get you guys to understand that your baseline frequency is what matters. That is essentially how healthy you are. And if your baseline frequency is numb or stuck in stress mode, then there's no way that you can be physically, emotionally, mentally, in every dimension of health your best, right? And how you change that is by modulating your frequency, and how you modulate your frequency is by dealing and feeling with your emotions. Yes, everyone has a base frequency that is their calm. Okay, that is true. Everyone's is different. This girl has way more energy than I do. So her base frequency is way up here. And I'm like, can we sit on the couch? But to your point, children, and to Caitlin's, children are hardwired. Their nervous systems are hardwired between 0 and 7. So whatever happened in your life from 0 to 7 determines how anxious you are, how comfortable you are in your sense of safety around change and around other people. And if you have a lot of trauma in your life from 0 to 7, that sounds like that is where the we get addicted to drama situation comes from, right? Or we get addicted to the difficult pattern, because your body only knows that pattern. So when you try to be calm, your body is like, nope, that's not safe. That's not the pattern I know. Doing things like breath work, doing things like any kind of somatic practice shifts that baseline. That breathing technique that I taught you guys in the beginning, if you do that, and this is scientifically proven, 3 to 5 minutes, 3 to 5 times a day, you will shift your frequency in 6 to 9 weeks. Literally, that's all you have to do, because it's all about creating safety, creating emotional safety for you to feel and process whatever is stuck in there, right? And I will say, they call it breath work for a reason, because it does feel like work, and you do have to do some work and be willing to let go. So yes, everybody has their own frequency. Yes, you can change it, and everybody's vibrates different, and it's going to vibrate different in different parts of your life too, right? Like, so if you feel really energized and jazzed about your work and you go to work, you're going to be high vibing, right? If you go home and your home life sucks, not so great, right? The other thing I want to tell you is, the other hot take is that a lot of people, even some of the people that I originally listened to, will be like, oh, you just need to be high vibration all the time. Bullshit. I call big bullshit. We are humans, and we are designed to feel the entire spectrum of emotions. That includes the bad, because you can't appreciate the happy emotions if you don't know what the bad ones feel like. Only difference is we are not designed to stay in those emotions, right? You also can't stay happy, 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 happy all the time, because you'll burn out, right? You'll burn out. Physically, from a physiological perspective, you will burn out. What the real goal is peace, is calm, is neutral. That is what you should strive for to be your baseline, and then allow the waves on either side to come and go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I will tell you that little, whatever, however you decide to do your little practice, I have done this at work many times, shifting the way you're physically feeling in the moment when you want to pop off. And Lord knows I love a good pop off. It changes the flow of your day, and it changes the way people interact with you. And I think that's kind of my takeaway with this, right? Because it's all woo-woo, right? It's not a pill, it's not a shot, it's not go get this and you're going to become this. It's you doing the work. And I think I'm so grateful for all of you that are here today, because you all, whatever that looks like for you, you deserve to feel peace. But it's also a choice. And I think so those two things can be true at once.
Yeah, so one of the other things besides somatic that I just made a note and I don't want to forget is, the other really easy way for you to shift your frequency is to listen to frequency music. You can Google, search up frequency music, and there is literally a different frequency for everything you want to feel. You want to get rid of guilt, there's a frequency for that. You want to get motivated, there's a frequency for that. You need to cleanse some anger, there's a frequency for that, right? And you can even make playlists. I have a bunch of them on my Spotify. You can get to it if you connect with me. And I listen to frequency music, not every day, but quite often. And the last tip that I'll leave you with is, and then we'll open it for questions, is habit stacking. So this is a very easy practice for you to do all the time, but if you don't make the choice and you're not intentional about including it in your day-to-day, that's where it gets hard. So what I tell people is habit stack it. So if you're brushing your teeth, frequency breath, before, after, during, whatever, right? So I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what this looks like for me as somebody who practices this all day. So before my feet even hit the ground, I have a gratitude practice that I do just for me. It's basically me spending time pouring into myself, creating intentions, filling my heart up, and making sure before I get out of bed, my frequency is at the baseline I want it to be. Then throughout my day, as I'm transitioning into a new meeting, if I'm leaving from an event, if my teenagers are like tippity tap dancing on my nerves, I do it then too. And even just a quick shift of, okay, 3 to 5 minutes, even if it's 3 to 5 breaths, just long enough to create the pause in whatever chaos you're feeling, or even if you're having a good day, but you want to show up as your best in a situation, 3 to 5 minutes. Shifting in between meetings, I do that a lot. And then because I am a healer, a light worker, whatever you want to call me, I get requests all day long. Hey, can you send me love and light? Can you pray for me? Or I see things happening in the news, or know things are happening with friends where I'm like, ugh, I want to send you love and light. That is what I do before I go to bed. So that practice then is for everyone else. So I have a practice for me, then a practice that I use all day long to kind of regulate and make sure that my whims aren't women. And then I do like a gratitude practice at night and extend that to everybody. The other thing I want to say is, I know Caitlin says this is woo-woo, but actually this is all science. There is all science to this. It's just that a lot of these things, the breath work, the frequency music, all of that is ancient wisdom that we have said, oh, well, we can't prove it or we can't see it, but everybody in this room believes in Wi-Fi. That works on a frequency, right? So you actually, there is a ton of science. Heart Math specifically, as an organization, has been doing research on this for 30 years. And I can bore you to death with tons of details, but the last thing I'll say is that anything that creates an electrical pulse also creates a magnetic field. The most strong electrical pulse comes from our heart. Our magnetic field, to this day, can be measured 3 feet outside of our body. So that means that all of you are in my energy, and I'm in all of yours. You're welcome. Joking aside, though, you can neither give me nor grant me permission to be in your energy. So that means that doing this practice is an act of self-care so that you can regulate yourself, so you can show up good in someone else's energy, but also so you can regulate yourself when someone's energy shows up yucky. And here's the coolest part ever. We are hardwired and designed to resonate with the highest frequency in the room. And you don't have to do heart math, but if you come near me, you're gonna feel better because I'm doing heart math. And you're gonna come to my frequency whether you want to or not. Your physiology is gonna put you there. If you go home and somebody's in a stank mood, regulate you, and they will regulate. If you're in the store and somebody's being nasty, if there is, some political unrest, whatever, if you focus on you and you regulate you, everyone else is gonna come along with you. It's like a superpower.
We can change the world. I think, like you all know, I'm in nonprofit and woo, 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 woo. I say everything's woo, woo. But if one of us stopped doing the good that we do and stopped putting the good intention out there and stopped doing the things that we do, you're all good people, you know this, the world is going to continue to look different. So if we vibrate higher, we inherently change the world like that. And there's no stopping you. There's no leader, there's no boss, there's no nothing that can change that, because it is who you are. It's who you're being for the world. And I think, for all of us, like for ourselves, we are the world too, right? It's for ourselves, it's for our friends, it's for our loved ones, it's for our spouses, it's for our children, because we really don't know what this world is going to be. And I think my reflection on the last 30 days has just been, I want a great world for me and for everybody that I love. And so I'm very grateful to you. You spiritual gangster warrior, you.
So if you want to work with me, there's a couple of different ways to do that. The QR code on the table over there is a special package. It's $99. You get a baseline assessment that will tell you where your stuff is at. Then you get a 30-minute session with me. It also comes with some instruction that you can do on your own time whenever you want to. And then you'll get a post-assessment at least 6 weeks after, so you can see in real time how your baseline is shifting. So that is one way to work with me. I do take one-on-one clients. My sessions are intuitive sessions. Typically, I pull oracle cards ahead of time to help me figure out what energy is coming into the room with me. And then it is a blend of breath work, Reiki, heart math, just frequency breath. Like, it just depends on what I feel like you need in the moment. But that is how I do that. I do groups sometimes, and if there's enough of you that want to do it, I would happily do a breathwork class for you. If you want to connect with me, the easiest way is RachelRizzi.com. That's RachelRizzi.com. And then that way you can get to me in all the directions. All right. Thank you.